The room was filled with smoke, the scent of beer lingering in the air along with the sound of laughter. Chidi, Victor, Dele sat around a round table. It was another one of those nights, one where their success felt too big for the small bar. They had been posted to the village for their National Youth Service. They all graduated top of their respective classes from prestigious universities in Nigeria. Victor, always the one to start trouble, leaned forward with a smirk that had been on his face all evening. He was the type to turn everything into a challenge, something they all used to enjoy, though now it felt empty, as if there was nothing left to prove. "You know, Chidi," Victor said, his eyes gleaming with amusement, "you have confidence, charm. But there's one thing you could never do." Chidi raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Victor's smile grew wider. "You couldn't get the village girl, Lola, the one everyone talks about. The beautiful girl with the intense eyes." At the mention of Lola, the room went quiet for a moment. She was famous in their world, a village girl whose natural beauty and grace had caught the attention of every man who saw her. Chidi had heard stories about her, watched her from a distance, and admired her. Her innocence and purity only made her more desirable, but to him, she was just another challenge, another woman to conquer, and another way to impress his friends. Chidi laughed, but there was something unsettling about it. "You're wrong, Victor," he said in a low, rough voice. "I could have her, just like any other woman. It's not about making her fall for me. It's about the thrill of it. I'll make her believe she's in love. I'll make her think I'll marry her." Victor burst out laughing, and the others joined in. They all knew Chidi's reputation. He used women and abandoned them when he was done. Lola, with her simple village life and trusting heart, would be no different. "You're up," Dele said, his tone more serious than the others. "But listen carefully. If you're going to do this, you have to do it properly. You have to see it through. No backing out halfway. Once you win her trust, you have to make her believe you're serious about marrying her. You'll pay the full bride price. Everyone here will witness it." Chidi didn't hesitate. "Agreed," he said, shaking Dele's hand. "And when it's all done, she'll be in my bed, and I'll have won the bet." Victor and the others raised their glasses, celebrating the plan. To them, it was just another game, something to add excitement to their lives. Not long after, Chidi put his plan into action. The village he lives is next to his village, but something about its simplicity caught his attention. The dusty roads, the smell of earth and wood, the sounds of nature, things he hadn't paid attention to in a long time. And then there was Lola. She looked just as they had described, tall, with dark eyes that seemed to stare right through anyone who met them. She was beautiful, but it wasn't just her appearance. It was the way she moved, the quiet confidence she carried. Chidi knew that impressing her would take more than just his usual charm. For weeks, he played the role of the perfect suitor. He visited her family's modest home with gifts, spoke to her with kind words, and painted a picture of a future she had only dreamed of. He told her she was special, that he had been searching for someone like her. And she believed him. Lola was innocent, and that made it easy for him to deceive her. He could see it in her eyes. The trust, the hope, the belief that he would take her away from her simple life. People in the village talked about them, whispering about the city man who had fallen for their girl. It only fed Chidi's pride. Every time she looked at him, he could feel the power he had over her. After months of convincing, he made the biggest promise of all. He would marry her. He gained her full trust, and she gave it willingly. He paid her bride price, arranged the wedding, and made sure everything seemed perfect in the eyes of her family and the village. Lola was overjoyed. She truly believed that Chidi was the perfect man for her, the one who would change her life. Her family was just as happy, proud that their daughter was marrying a young, educated man from the city. None of them knew the truth hidden behind Chidi's smile. On the night before of the wedding, Lola finally gave in to his desires, and they spent the night together. For him, it was just about winning. For Lola, it was a special moment, something she thought marked the beginning of their life together. But when morning came and the sunlight filled the room, Chidi's attitude completely changed. "It's over, Lola," he said coldly. "I got what I wanted. You were just part of a bet. There was never any love. I never planned to marry you." Lola felt her heart break. Her face went pale as tears streamed down her cheeks. She begged him to take it back, to reconsider. But he didn't care. For him, it was all over. He had won. And just like that, Lola's entire world fell apart. Chidi left the village without looking back. To him, Lola no longer mattered. She was just a broken woman, nothing more. He never stopped to think about what his actions might lead to. Years passed. Chidi, Victor, Dele, and the others moved on. They built successful lives, far removed from their reckless past. With wealth, families, and powerful connections, they lived in luxury, never once thinking about Lola. To them, she was nothing more than a distant memory, a girl from their youth whose story had ended long ago. On the night of his wedding anniversary, Chidi's wife, Rachel, planned a quiet dinner at home, just like they did every year. They would eat, raise a glass to their love, and reflect on the life they had built. That night, the house felt strangely tense. As Chidi sat at the dining table with Rachel, a sudden knock at the door broke the silence. He frowned and exchanged a puzzled look with Rachel before standing up to answer it. On the doorstep, there was a small red box. Confused, Chidi bent down and picked it up. The box had no markings, but the moment he touched it, a chill ran through him. Something about it felt wrong, almost ominous. He carried it inside and opened it in front of Rachel. Inside, carefully wrapped in a satin cloth, was a piece of lace, a veil stained with a lot of blood. "What is this?" Rachel asked, her voice unsteady. She reached out to touch it, but Chidi pulled it away. I don't know. "This is strange," he murmured, his heartbeat quickening. He knew this veil, the detailed pattern, the delicate stitching. There was no doubt about it, but he couldn't figure out where he saw it. The next morning, Chidi couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was terribly wrong. The veil sat in his office, untouched, a constant reminder of a past he had tried so hard to forget. When he tried to call Victor, Daly, and the others, no one answered. They too were disturbed by the red box that had appeared at their homes. It wasn't just the veil. Each of his friends had received a red box as well. Victor found a wedding ring inside his, while Daly's contained a burnt bouquet. Each item was carefully wrapped in red satin, but there was something deeply unsettling about them, as if they carried a warning. As the days passed, the feeling of dread only grew. One by one, strange and terrifying things began to happen. Chidi's first sign came with Rachel's sudden miscarriage. It happened without warning, even though her pregnancy had been progressing normally. A few days after she arrived at the hospital, Rachel fell into a coma, and doctors had no explanation for it. Victor suffered as well. His wife, once a happy and healthy lady, she stands in a crowded marketplace. But something is wrong. People around her cover their noses, covering their mouths, their expression twisting in disgust. Flies begin to circle her, subtly drawn to the unbearable smell. Her own face contorts in confusion as she lifts her arm, sniffing her skin, only for her eyes to widen in horror. Dele's wife, Lena, started having terrifying visions. She saw shadowy figures following her, heard whispers in the dark, and felt as if something was watching her every second of the day. One night, her hair turned completely white, and after that, she never left the house again. The visions had pushed her to the edge of insanity. The happiness they once shared was gone. The jokes, the plans for the future, and the confidence that they had everything under control had all disappeared in just a few weeks. Now, Chidi, Victor, and Dele sat quietly, exhausted and overwhelmed, all thinking the same thing. Where do we even begin? One day, As Chidi came out of the hospital where Rachel was, weighed down by frustration, lost in thought, he almost walked straight into an elderly man wearing a clean white robe, standing in the middle of the road as if he had been waiting for him. "Son," the pastor said in a steady, calm voice, "why do you walk? Like you're carrying the whole world on your shoulders?" Chidi hesitated, looking surprised, but there was something about this man that felt safe. My wife has been in coma since," he admitted. "The wives of my friends too are not okay at all." The pastor looked at him closely and nodded. "Do you know why?" Chidi frowned. "If I knew, I wouldn't be suffering." The pastor gave a small smile. "Sometimes we create our own problems without realizing it." He stepped closer. "Tell me, young man, have you broken a promise? A vow you made to someone?" Chidi's chest tightened. He couldn't figure out who it was. The pastor placed a hand on his shoulder. "God does not forget, my son. What you owe must be repaid. Go back, make things right, and everything will be all right." Chidi swallowed hard. Could it really be that simple? The pastor gave him one last reassuring look before stepping aside. Chidi walked past him, but when he turned back, the man was gone. A chill ran through him. He didn't know who the pastor was or where he had come from, but one thing was clear. He had just been given an answer. Now, it was up to him to do the right thing. He picked up his phone and called Chidi and Victor to meet him at their usual spot. They go to relax. He told them what the pastor said, and Dele shouted, "It's Lola." It all started with a bet, an irresponsible decision. What first seemed like a fun challenge quickly turned into a serious problem. At first, they thought they could handle the consequences. They kept telling themselves things would get better, that they would find a way to fix everything. But as time passed, the reality of their situation became clearer and more painful. The three friends went back to the village to find Lola. They went straight to her parents' house, but when they got there, the house looked deserted. They went to the bar they usually go to unwind during their youth service days. One of the villagers, Omaka, recognized them and rushed towards them. "You shouldn't be here," she said. They were all confused because they don't know what she meant by that statement. Amaka told them to come with her quickly. She led them under the palm tree behind the bar and asked them why they were in the village. Chidi said he was looking for Lola. Amaka looked frightened. "Don't you know what happened to her?" she asked. "A few days after you all left, Lola was found dead, wearing a blood-stained wedding dress. She had taken her own life, unable to bear the betrayal. The village mourned her loss. Her parents died afterwards." Amaka told them. She told them they shouldn't have done what they did. "You killed that family," she said. "I was there when you came to pay her bride price with your friends." Soon, Chidi realized that he caused Lola's death. Chidi learned further Lola could never have the life she once dreamed of. The veil, the ring, and the bouquet were reminders of everything that had been taken from her. Each of these cursed objects carried its own suffering. Chidi struggled to face the truth, trying to understand why Lola had returned and why her revenge was so brutal. He had no idea how to stop it. Amaka told them if they want to stop whatever is going on with them, they must finish the marriage rites. Chidi must finish the wedding in the village. They must also bring all what they each received. They all hesitated that it's not possible. They can't do any wedding. They collected Amaka's mobile number and left back to the city. Each man and friend suffered from a personal nightmare. Their families and lives started falling apart as the objects from the red boxes brought misfortune upon them. Chidi could no longer ignore what was happening. He needed to face the past. Victor was the first to lose hope. His wife, Chika, can't step out of the house because of horrible odor. Dele was barely holding on. Lena's visions had worsened, turning more violent and terrifying. She had stopped speaking and spent her days sobbing in the corner of their bedroom, clutching her hair as if she were trying to keep herself together. It was as if she had been pulled into another world. Desperate to find a way to escape, Chidi searched for answers. He spoke to people who studied dark magic, religious leaders, and experts, anyone who might know how to break such a powerful curse. His searches led him to same thing Amaka said. He met up with his friends and told them what he found out from other people. To his surprise, they all said the same thing. Chidi felt his stomach drop as he understood what this meant. Chidi called Amaka on phone and told her they are coming to finish the wedding. She told the village head, and it was announced to the village that a wedding will hold in the next few days. The wedding preparations took 3 days. On the morning of the wedding, Chidi brought his friends to the village, the place where everything started. The villagers were all in joyous mood, and they sang and danced. The village band came to play, and everyone was happy. The chief priest of the village took the friends into the deserted house. This is the spot she died, and she told them to place the veil, bouquet, and ring there. As they stood together, surrounded by reminders of their past mistakes, the air became heavy, filled with an unnatural presence. As they placed them on the ground, a loud cheer was heard outside. They went out to see what had happened. They saw Lola, dressed in her wedding gown. The veil, the bouquet, and ring were all with her. Chief priest called Chidi that he should come and hold Lola. He was scared, really scared. He moved closely towards her. When he got closer, he told Lola he was sorry. She smiled and told him, "You are mine at last." Chief priest told Chidi the shocking truth. The truth was revealed, a truth that would destroy him. He is to spend the rest of his life in Lola's family house. He must not set his eyes or talk to his wife, family, or friends. They couldn't believe what they had heard. You think you can undo what has already happened? Lola's voice was deep and chilling. You used me, took everything from me, and now you will suffer for it. Chidi tried to plead with her, but she vanished. Chief priest told him, the deed has been done. If you want everyone else alive, this is your penance. Chief priest instructed everyone else to leave and return to the city at once. As they were leaving the village, Rachel woke up from coma. Victor's wife stopped smelling. Dele's wife is back, sane. Chidi's sacrifice had saved his friends, but at a great cost. But Chidi was to spend the rest of his life in the deserted house, alone. His friends were left to move forward, knowing he had given everything for them. The pain of their past mistakes would never fade, but Chidi's sacrifice would never be forgotten.